this video, we're going to learn how to set up the upper and lower control limits and make a C chart. So far we've looked at X bar and R charts, tracking the mean and tracking the range of whatever process that we've got going on. And we've also looked at P charts, and a P chart looks at percentage defects. So what a C chart does is a C chart is going to track the actual number of defects. So we're not going to have percentages or anything. We're going to look purely at the numbers. So in this setup, we have the Red Top Cab Company, and they receive several complaints per day about the behavior of their drivers. So we have a 9-day period that the owner received the following number of calls from passengers. 308967498 for a total of 54 complaints. And so Mr. Hoff wants to compute the 99.73% control limit. Once again, 99.73, that is a Z value of 3. That puts us in our the Six Sigma category. So we're going to compute the upper and lower control limits for the C chart, and then we're actually going to make the C chart. Okay, so we're going to come over here. So we have 9 samples, and the sample sets are days, day 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have the number of complaints for each of those days. Okay, so what are we going to do? The first thing we're going to do is, well, we have a confidence interval of 99.73. That's a Z value of 3. And we can go look that up. That's one that, by this point, you might know it already because we see that pop up a lot. And so the next thing that we're going to look at, so how are we going to calculate out what the upper and lower control limits are? For this one, it's a lot like our other ones. It's going to be C bar, so the average number of complaints, plus and minus Z, so that confidence level that we're looking for, times the square root of the average of the complaints. And so it's a pretty simple one to put together. So we're going to go with C bar, that is going to be equals the average. And we're just going to take the average number of complaints. And so our average number of complaints are about 6 per day. And in fact, it's right on 6. So we will do our upper and lower control limits. Let's quickly, we'll just range name these. So formulas, create from selection. We want to go the left column because that's where the words are. Hit OK, and then we'll come over here and range names, Control B to bold, and then formulas, use in formula, paste list, and there we go. So that's just our reference for everything. So the upper control limit, really easy, equals C bar. We're going to add to that Z, and then we'll multiply that by the square root of C bar. And so that gives us our upper control limit. And let's go do our lower control limit. It's going to be the same thing. We're going to drag that down. Because they don't index, because all of them are set, we're good to go. We'll just change this to minus. And once again, we've ran into this problem before where our lower control limit's going to drop below 0. So how do we fix that? We're just going to go in and say, I want you to take the maximum of either this value or 0. And since it takes the maximum of those two, anytime it goes negative, it will give us a 0. Anytime it stays positive, we'll get that instead. And so that's how we do the upper and lower control limits. Let's actually chart this out then. So I'm just going to grab this and we'll drag this over a little bit. And once again, since I just moved it, everything's preserved. And so what we're going to want is we're going to want C bar. We're going to want the upper control limit and the lower control limit just so we can make that in Excel. I used equal sign so I didn't have to type it again. So we're going to equal C bar equal the upper control limit equal the lower control limit. And since those are all range named block, I can just drag those down. They're not going to change. All right, and then we're going to plot this one out. Now this one's great because everything's right there. We can just highlight all of that. We've got no unnecessary things there. Insert XY scatter chart. We'll just start with the dots, right click, and we will go move chart, new chart, okay. And so let's deal with this. I'm going going to go in here, and this is going to be our C chart. And let's take care of cleaning up the data first. I'm going to right click, change chart type, go down here to a combo. We want the complaints. We'll do the complaints with straight lines and markers. We will do C bar as just straight line, and the upper and lower control limit are both going to be straight lines. Get rid of these secondary axes and just leave it like that. Hit OK. And so now let's title our axes. So this is number of complaints. Don't really need a unit for that. This is days. Don't need a number for that. Let's format this axis. We're going to run this from 1 to 9. No reason to have all that empty space there at the end. And then I'm just going to come in here. And once again, I like that blue-gray for my upper and my lower. And then I like my average to be a dotted line. No, that's not required. It's just what I like. Okay, and so as we take a look at this C chart, we can see that within the control limits set, we are well within control. We have not hit any of the bounds. I mean, we have hit 0, but that's okay because you're not worrying about going below 0. And so this process seems to be well in hand. All right, so with that, that's all we've got for the C charts. That's how we make them. Pretty simple. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video.